administration will be as restrictive on technology export, and tariffs will be a function. How have you prepared for that, Jensen?
Whatever the administration ultimately decides, we'll give them as much insight as we can from our perspective, and I'm sure that the administration will make the right moves that's in the best interest of our country.
2025, I kind of started the conversation by saying a lot has changed since we last spoke in the summer. You said that the age of general robotics is just around the corner. Mm-hmm. Is 2025 the year of general robotics, or is that a little premature to your mind?
The development is going gangbusters, as you can see, all the different robots that are going to be around here. And the enabling technology necessary for general robotics is coming together. All the pieces are coming together. The industry still has a lot of engineering to do. If you look long term, pick your horizon. In 10 or 20 years, the number of robots that's going to be on Earth is going to be measured in probably tens, if not hundreds, and not potentially billions of robots. And so those days are clearly coming. Is it going to happen in the next couple of years or the next 5 years? Hard to say. But the development of robotics is going to be all over the world now. And we're seeing startup companies, large companies, industrial companies, consumer electronics companies, all getting involved in the future of robotics. And our offering to the industry is a 3-computer system. And so whether they're developing the robot, training the robot, we have DGX systems for them and DGX clouds for them. If they're simulating the robots, we have Omniverse for them. And if they want to deploy them, when they're ready to deploy the robots, we have little computers that basically is the computer brain of the robot that they can put inside the robot. And so we'll work with the industry across the board, from the development of the robot to the deployment of the robot. And we have computer systems for them, algorithms for them, AIs for them. And we'll partner with the industry to make this future happen.
Very, very quick. Which line of business grows fastest this year? Data center, gaming, or other?
They're all going to grow fast. I think gaming is continuing to grow. Our autonomous vehicle business is already on its way to be a $5 billion business this year. And so, run rate. And so the autonomous vehicle business is just starting to get off the ground. And that tells you something about how we address it. And the reason for that is we get the benefit from the beginning of the development of the AIs all the way to the deployment of the cars. Because a car company needs 2 factories, a car factory that builds the cars and an AI factory that builds the AIs for the cars. And both of these areas we get to participate. And so I think it's going to be a very large business for us.
I've made you late for your next appointment.
Yeah, it's great to see you.
I'm incredibly grateful for your time. It's good to see you as well. Jensen Huang, the NVIDIA CEO.